said, it was like, oh, I didn't know. We'll bump the music.
Okay, they can hear us now.
Bump the music.
Hard work, steely resolve, and sure grittiness.
It starts with an attitude. We need swagger, okay? Regardless of what happens out there. Doesn't matter. Keep your swagger.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 5 Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We're your hosts today so far, Zach or TJ and Raj. I'm used to saying Zach first. TJ and Raj. Oh, yeah. There's Zach. And
hey.
Zach. You're just going straight into hey here, bud. All right, we are live on YouTube. We are doing the Metro Division Preview Part 2. So today we're covering, where are we at? The Islanders, Capitals, Penguins, and Flyers. In the first installment, we covered the Hurricanes, Rangers, Devils, and Blue Jackets in our last show. And the plan, as always, is to deep dive these teams, changes in the offseason, whether that's happened for good reason or bad reason. Talking top targets, streamers, breakout candidates, sleepers, if they even have them. I was looking through like all of our, like these different divisional previews and stuff, and this might be is this the most boring one that we have scheduled?
There's a lot of minus differential in this division, I noticed.
Yeah. Like even parts of the Pacific are better, I think.
Yeah, I know, but being a minus differential and making the playoffs, like, it's hard to do.
Figured it out. They did it somehow.
Yeah.
Rangers.
Yeah. Metro.
Yeah. I have the wrong notes up here. I got the Metro Division Part 1.
We're on Part 2, brother.
Right.
Jeez. Gee, kids these days.
Wait a second. All right. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Starting off with Washington. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was so like thrown off here. Because Kuznetsov and that news like broke for real, right? So he's definitely not around for next year, but yeah, I for some reason I still like had him in Washington in my brain. So I was like, well, this can't be right. We just talked about him last time. Anyway.
Well, he does affect them, in all honesty.
Yeah, a little bit of money.
They were still paying him.
But let me do some plugs.
$3.9 million because of him.
I'm gonna plug a few things before we get into the Washington Capitals here. You guys are already watching us on YouTube, so you know about it. But if you're not, we are doing these things live on YouTube, and we're getting better at it. Raj has got all these fun slides. Like it's good to have our producer back. I'll tell you that much. We got the mocks. Anytime a mock fills up, we're going with mocks. We're building an in-house ADP, so hop in the Discord and join a mock if you got the itch. And on Twitter, you guys can find us there at FHF Hockey. You can check out FHFhockey.com and join our Patreon if you're interested in becoming supporting the show and doing the listener leagues, which we're going to start recruiting pretty heavily for coming up. But let's get into it. Like I said, we got the Islanders, Capitals, Penguins, and Flyers. Starting off with the Capitals, 40, 31, and 11. 17th in the league, 4th in the Metro. Goals for per game, 2.63. Goals allowed, 3.07. So that's right where we were talking about that goal differential that you guys talk about. Power play, kind of right in the middle, 20.6. They have 29 off nights this year, 13 backs-to-backs. Really nothing to write home about in any one of those categories at all. But Zach, I know you got some takeaways here. Why don't you take her away?
We kind of alluded to it. Well, didn't allude to it. We straight said it there. They're minus 37. Minus 37. Like, let that sink in. Like, all I'm saying is that's not normal to make the playoffs and be minus 37 in the goal differential. Now, they won the games that they won, and I get it. But when that happens, what happened in the playoffs?
Yeah, swept.
and they got swept. They got trampled. Like they got their asses kicked, and it showed. It showed. That minus 37 really kind of reared its ugly head, if you will.
And let's get into question marks here. So for me, they got new defensemen, like Jacob Chikrin kind of leads the way there. New forwards, Andrew Mangiapane, Pierre-Luc Dubois. They got new goaltender in Logan Thompson. I don't know what to make of this team. Like they're not a team that I expect to make like a huge impact in terms of, you know, are they going to be top of the league, top of the Metro, any of that? I don't know. This, like, Chikrin is exciting. I don't think he's taken power play one away from John Carlson, but everybody loves Jacob Chikrin, so it's hard to kind of ignore wherever he winds up. I don't know. What do you guys think? What's your takeaways on this team?
I think they have a lot going on. Like, and a lot of it's not great. I personally think their offensive depth is nowhere. Like, it's gone. It used to be there. They used to be one of the deepest teams, and now nothing. Like, I'm not betting against Ovi or anything like that, but the dude is 38. He is out there to get goals. He's not out there to do much else. He still gets a decent amount of bangs, but like 100 less bangs he used to get a season. You know?
Yeah, my dude's like 38, 39. He's definitely getting up there.
And to be wrong, he's still like 200, right on 200, I think it was, for hits, which is pretty damn fantastic. But I remember years where he was like 300 hits and stuff like that, like craziness.
Yeah, 300 hits, 450 shots, and just
so
a power.
That's this year. What I'm worried about is next year. They have 11 unrestricted free agents next season.
We talk about
11.
25, 26 here.
Yeah. We're talking about question marks. That's a question mark to me.
That's a later problem.
Yeah.
Well, let me
read you
off some of these names. And some of these you're going to be happy about. Like TJ Oshie, let's get that money off the books. I'm fine with that. TJ Oshie, Andrew Mangiapane, I want to keep him around. You know what I mean? Let's just think about players we want to keep around. Mangiapane, Oshie, you can get gone. Jacob Chikrin, I want to keep you. Ethan Bear, I want to keep him. Nick Dowd, I'm on the fence, but he plays a role. You know what I mean? He should be decently cheap. Michael Scarbosa, Luke Philp, another young guy, Spencer Stallman, Taylor Radish, who's been jumping around a lot lately. And then both their current goalies that are on the roster, Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson, both unrestricted free agents next year.
You know what I hear? I hear 11 contract year seasons coming this way. That's what it's going to be.
Well,
so you're taking it as, hey, yeah, we're gonna ball out because I'm trying to get a contract. Yeah. I don't know.
Career year for Michael Scarbosa.
There is gonna be
put it in the books.
He's a young guy. He
a lot of potential assists, right? Because the whole point of this season is to get Ovi 42 goals. That's the whole point of this season. So I don't know. I think like the big question mark for me is the D. Like I think the D actually looks pretty potentially sick, right? Like Chikrin, Carlson, Sandin has been really good there. Favari and I don't know about Trevor Ramsey and Matt Roy, but like for different reasons, right? There's a lot of bangs there. There's some pretty good, potentially a really good streamer core as far as bangs go.
Yeah, and that's gonna.
Jacob Chikrin to me is a really interesting one. He didn't really come through in Ottawa. I mean, he was good, but it wasn't like a big magical moment like they thought it might be. So who knows? Maybe him and John Carlson could be like, that's a potentially really sick duo.
I like the way that trickles down to the goalies too. You have a defense that looks like that. You should have a little more faith in the goaltending as a result. So I'm hoping, and we're going to get into a whole goalie kind of deep dive a little bit because Charlie Lindgren, Logan Thompson, who's the 1A, that's going to be a conversation that needs to happen here on this podcast, but also in the fucking front office in Washington.
In the room
Yeah.
there.
Off-season changes, like I said, they brought in Logan Thompson. We've talked about Jacob Chikrin, Andrew Mangiapane, Brandon Duhaime. We can kind of, actually, you know what? Yeah, Pierre-Luc Dubois. He's in there too. Subtractions, Darcy Kemper, Nick Jensen, Max Pacioretty for all that was worth, Nicolas Aube-Kubel, Beck Mellenstein. Top targets, ADP has kind of spoken. Alex Ovechkin still at 37 ADP, first Washington Capital off the board. Where do you guys kind of put your second flag after Ovi? Raj, let's start with you over there.
Well, I mean, I think John Carlson is a pretty safe bet who's kind of fallen out of favor in terms of ADP in the last couple of years. Like a lot of the younger, more sexy defensemen have kind of started going in the first few rounds. So sometimes John Carlson, like here 92, I think that's potentially you could end up getting him at a good spot. And like I said, with the whole point of this season is just literally let's get Ovi this record. Let's have the greatest goal scorer of all time, and that could have a lot to do with John Carlson on the power play. So
I can't wait for those games. Like if he gets around like 40, those games, those are going to be high like viewership number games. That's going to be so much fun. Like I really hope he gets it. If there is a storyline surrounding Washington, it's not new players. It's not do they make the playoffs. It's Ovi's going to break the goal record. That's huge. I want to take you guys through some defensemen that are getting drafted ahead of John Carlson here. I just want to know, would you rather? Eric Carlson in Pittsburgh, who we'll get to later this episode, is getting drafted ahead of John Carlson. Does that track with you?
No, I'd rather have John Carlson, personally.
Yeah.
It's not like a layup, but yeah.
I don't trust that Eric Carlson will really get all the power play time there. He's been declining.
Morgan Riley. I mean, I'm going up the ADP here. So, Charlie McAvoy, Moritz Seider, Mikhail Sergachev, that's kind of within range. Just below him, Shea Theodore, who just pumped power play time in Vegas. Eric Carlson again. I wonder if that's... I got to look into that because I have him at an ADP of 88 and 93. So... definitely got to check that one out. Brandon Montour in Seattle and Drew Doughty. Like, is there any of these defensemen that you guys would rather have? Seth Jones.
Drew Doughty is sneaky good.
He does. He's like a jack of all trades.
Yeah, he just always flies under the radar. But like, I like having Drew Doughty on my team. So honestly, I would almost go Drew Doughty. We have a prior relationship.
Our number 3 target here is Dylan Strome, Jacob Chikrin, Charlie Lindgren, then Logan Thompson. And that's based on ADP. Dylan Strome actually goes below Charlie Lindgren and Jacob Chikrin, but I think we have him there just because he's going to be, at least in our minds, Raj, I haven't talked to you about this one, but Zach and I agree that Dylan Strome's probably going to be the 1C out of the gate.
He's that top line center.
Yeah, I think so. I think that makes sense. I mean, that is one of the potential storylines / questions, I guess, is do you go with Strome or PLD, right? Like PLD has been searching for meaning for quite some time. So
yeah,
if he's not working out on line 2, you kind of have to try swapping him up to line 1. So there's a potential for that to be different. There is a potential for that, but I think Strome is probably the guy who's going to be there. And I mean, 27 goals last year, but again, it's just all they're looking for is guys to get Ovechkin the puck. So.
And that's one thing I think is going to be a trend in Washington. Like there's guys who were really good last year that are going to get it based on confidence. Charlie Lindgren was somebody that had the confidence, still has the confidence of management, the whole team, the fan base, everything like that. So that's why I think he's going to be the 1A going into the season. And I think a lot of the same thing can be said about Dylan Strome here. Like PLD, number one, paycheck's bigger. So if you're following the money, that's your 1C. 8.5 for PLD, 5 million for Dylan Strome. But it's not like it's PLD's to earn. It's Dylan Strome's to lose. So if he does have like a down year or a slow streak, then I could see that being the case. Like I think Dylan Strome is the guy that gets it out of the gate. And it's based solely on just chemistry. Like they already have a rapport. You don't need to introduce any chemistry. It's already there. So for me, PLD is your second line center out of camp.
I think
based on that alone.
open and shut. PLD is definitely the second line center. I understand he might make more money, but his face-off percentage is lower. He's under 50% face-off percentage. I want a guy as my front line, winning face-offs. Dylan Strome is 50, 52, 53%, something like that. Also, let's just look at this. PLD has never had 40 plus assists in a season. His highest is 36.
He does kind of have that like 1-to-1 ratio of like his best seasons are like 30-30, right? So you don't want to take goals away from Ovi. You already have like maybe 5 years ago you had the best scoring threat in the world on that line. So I definitely see where you're going with that.
Dylan Strome is still going to score goals. He has 20 plus goals in the last 3 seasons. In the last 2 seasons, he has 40 plus assists. How is there any sort of a question here? It makes no sense to ever have PLD as your frontline center. So I'm going Dylan Strome on that one. He is number 3. Don't get me wrong. I don't completely hate PLD in this situation. I think that it's good that he got out of LA. Like I do understand that, but no, he's the second line.
He doesn't have the best track record when it comes to keeping performances.
Let's just go with that.
Just in general, yeah. Like there was one really, really, really good season in Winnipeg, one really good season in Columbus, but outside of that, he's just been like, where is the ceiling for this guy? Are we just looking at a floor that's disguised as ceiling, or I don't know. So we'll see. Dylan Strome probably going to be our guy out of camp, and an ADP of 150 for Dylan Strome here by 5 whole mocks, like that's pretty reasonable. I can get down. Jacob Chikrin without power play 1. I don't know how much I dig on that. In terms of like a long hold, do you think there's a conversation for Chikrin versus John Carlson, or is this a case of maybe they double up on the top power play? I don't know. What's your take on this one, Raj? Is Raji frozen?
He might be frozen. He's playing with his hair over there. You know what I mean?
All right, Zach. Let's bomb it off to you.
Yeah, I'll interject there. I could actually see that happening. Almost like I could get down with that. It's not like they're like. Don't get me wrong. I don't love their top power play, but I don't hate it either. I could kick off. Maybe Tom Wilson off that top line. I think I'd probably keep Mangiapane on the top line, and put Wilson
top
down
power play or
second.
top line.
For the first power play. Top
Okay.
power play. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, top power play. Like I'm thinking Tom Wilson is going to be there. So, and Andrew Mangiapane. That's my thought on the subject. And then
I don't know how much.
I think
I don't know if
you think
Wilson's
PLD.
top power play guy.
PLD could be on the top power play, but then you're
Yeah, but then we're gonna start.
Mangiapane.
Then we're gonna
I like
start talking about
Mangiapane.
face-offs for power play 2 and stuff. Raj said his Wi-Fi went to shit. Are we still live? Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Come on back in.
Yeah,
The water's
here
fine.
we are. Yeah. I used to have a whirlwind. I used to say that to girls. Come on in. More fun. It worked.
You would.
All right.
You would have one.
So
He's resetting his router. This could be a while.
I had a king
You
size waterbed.
old heads.
It was awesome.
All right. So then our final guys are Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson. We talked a little bit about the power play. There's plenty of streamers here. Connor McMike is one of them. I don't think Tom Wilson, like outside of even in banger leagues, he's starting to kind of trend his weight down. Mangiapane, I think if I had to put my money on it, like he's going to be a streamer, but I get this feeling like he's going to be a hold by the end of the year. So I'm keeping my eye pretty close on Mangiapane.
He could, and I agree with the Tom Wilson thing. I think he's just a streamer. Don't get me wrong. I love him. His handsome per 60 is fantastic, but he is just a streamer now, and that's where I had him too.
I got Mangiapane as my breakout too. There have been really
don't hate it.
Short spurts of really good analytics that he's shown us in Calgary, especially when he gets that kind of exposure. So I'm hoping that with the change of scenery, maybe something gets kind of unlocked in him. In longer, like if you look at a full season, his analytics, his per 60s don't look as great, but you start to get into these 2, 3, 4 week streaks that he's having, and he just finds something. So I'm hoping whatever he needs to find is in Washington. Really hoping for that. But I dig yours too, because I think Connor McMike has a chance to make things happen inside that top 6.
Yeah, I picked Connor McMichael here. He did get a jump in ice time last year, and I think that he's likely going to get a second line spot this year, and that's going to make his value better. That's going to up his ice time even more. I am a little worried that last year he did have a 13.3% shooting percentage, and that's awesome. But that also could be a worry about regression. So the only thing is, though, we don't know what his baseline is. You know what I mean? Like, there are guys that just shoot in the double digits for shooting percentage. So I don't hate the fact that happened. If it happens again and he does even better, then it could be grounds for a breakout. And I think a breakout for him would be like, if he would get like 60 points, that would be dope.
I see your regression candidate here, Zach, and I want to kind of just tie that into the goalie deep dive. I want to take some of your points, but you mind if I just spout off some shit first? Get the numbers. You guys can have a nice little nap if you want.
That's
fine. All right.
I like that you like. Do you like my pick or do you not like my pick? I think
he's gonna regress as well. So I'm with you there. And a lot of my stuff was right here. Like Charlie Lindgren last year led the league in shutouts. Now, I don't want to take anything away from him because the teams that he shut out were Vegas, the Rangers, Boston, Pittsburgh, Winnipeg, and Boston again. So it's not like you can't just remove it completely from his season. Like you can't take that away from him. But it's worth noting just how hard it is for goalies to repeat shutouts year over year. 2022-23, Ilya Sorokin led the league with 6 shutouts. The next year he had 2. And that's this most recent year. Jacob Markstrom had 9 shutouts in 21-22. The next year he had 1 shutout. And he had a sub 900 save percentage. In 2021, COVID shortened season. That was the year of Varlamov and Grubauer, both of which had 7 shutouts. The next year, both of which had 2 shutouts. So like on one hand, Lindgren is definitely, we covered this a little bit earlier. Lindgren is going to be the 1A out of camp. That's based on past performance, loyalty with the team, confidence of the team, coaching staff, fans, everybody. He's got a knowledge of the system already. His comfort levels there, all of that puts him as the 1A out of camp. But on the other hand, you assume that Lindgren is going to be a 9-11 goalie again. I don't think that's going to happen. Like you look at his past season when he had 30 games played, he was .899. And that's exactly what his save percentage would be if you take these shutouts out. And that starts to paint a picture of who Charlie Lindgren as a guy. And again, we're not taking away these shutouts, but I think when you take a step back, it's important to realize and reevaluate Lindgren and just realize what he's going to be next year. Think of it this way, because I know Tristan Jarry has a really bad rap in fantasy circles right now. Tristan Jarry had 51 games played, same as Charlie Lindgren, had 6 shutouts, same as Charlie Lindgren, and he's getting no roses whatsoever from fantasy GMs. Now, is that because Tristan Jarry was not a waiver wire pickup, was not a 0G darling? Probably, because you invested something in him, you expected more out of him, and Lindgren's the complete opposite. So Do we think Tristan Jarry is going to have 6 shutouts again next year? Probably not. Like I said, Lindgren's going to have first kick of the can, but he's going up against Thompson, who's like 5 years younger, requested a trade out of Vegas. And if I'm guessing, this is all me making stuff up here, but I would think if he's requesting a trade, it's because he wanted to play more games. If he wanted a true starter's role, and Washington was like, yeah, we can give that to you, they're going to have to give it to him. But again, that's just me guessing. So for me, Thompson is going to be 1A by the end of the season. He's 26. Lindgren's like 30 or 31. Just saw his second year of consistent NHL action, and I don't buy it. So what's your reasoning, Zach, behind Lindgren's regression?
I'm happy. I feel a little justified.
I agree with you. Yep.
For being the one that likes Logan Thompson over Charlie Lindgren. And it's honestly everything that you said, I couldn't agree with more. He has okay, let's just be honest. This is by far the most games that he's gotten in his entire career, which is not like he's only been around for a couple of years. Now, you were comparing him to Tristan Jarry. Tristan Jarry has a track record of 900 plus seasons for most of his career. I think probably all but 2. Now, the opposite is true for, Charlie Lindgren, who has more of a history of being below 900. And this is the first chance that he's gotten where these past 2 seasons, he's actually gotten to play some, and he's
play good competition too.
8 years now, so even before as a backup, he was sub 900. You want to talk about the 9/11? That's fantastic. He did a really good job. I'm not saying that he didn't, but it was almost 50-50 last year. Now with Logan Thompson coming in, who in my eyes is a bona fide winner because he's a bona fide winner. I just like him better. I don't know. I can't put a finger on it, but I don't think that Charlie Lindgren's going to do it again. I look at, I'm even looking at some of the little things like you do. I always like expected goals saved. Just how, especially for regression for a goalie. So he saved well above the league average. Like he was like, I forget the number, but it doesn't matter. He was like well above league average for expected goals saved, and he's not going to do it again. It's not going to happen. I'll put money on. I'll put money on that one.
Sorry, I had to fix my pants. My crack was out. Sorry. Okay. Trevor here makes a really good point. Like Lindgren and Thomas are going to be really good late round swings, and I agree with that totally. But I think what's going to be different this year as opposed to last year is I think Logan Thompson is going to wind up being the waiver wire steal. Like Charlie Lindgren's getting drafted, and Logan Thompson is not. And Lindgren's getting drafted ahead of Dylan Strome. Lindgren's ADP is 140, and Logan Thompson straight up is just not getting drafted in our league. So I think Thompson's going to be that waiver wire guy this year. Where are we? Do we have anything left here? I guess we could talk about their top prospects: Ivan Miroshnichenko, Ryan Leonard, Andrew Cristall. They're building up a pipeline. It's not one of the best, but they're building it back up, which is nice. Do you guys want to move into Philly?
Sure.
Yeah.
All righty. Philly.
Sure.
Right around 500 record. 38, 33, and 11. They were 21st in the league, 6th in the Metro. Goals for per game, 2.82. Goals allowed per game, 3.15. So another team with a negative goal differential here. Power play, dead fucking last. DFL.
Worst in the league.
DFL. Last in the league. Off nights was 22, right at the bottom, third least, and back-to-backs 13. So again, this is not a team that's really jumping to the top of your draft board in terms of, oh, I got to make sure I get players from these guys. And you look at the roster, and the roster would agree with you. You're not jumping to get any of these guys. It's really hard to find players who you kind of want to bookmark in your draft. Question marks for me. What is Mishkov going to do? Is he going to be kind of around that Connor Bedard last year, like kind of 60-ish points?
I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the talk last draft was the only player who can rival Bedard is Mishkov. And we're not talking about that with Celebrini. We're not talking about that with Demidov. We're not talking about that with, Berkeley Catton, Beckett Seneke, none of these guys. So for Mishkov to be in the Bedard conversation, like he's not going to be better than Bedard. I don't want to get that conversation started or get misconstrued in that way. But if he's in that tier, this could be a 60, 65 point guy who's getting propelled to top line-ish, maybe top 6, depending on what John friggin' Tortorella does, but top power play too. Yeah. So what kind of year are we going to get out of Mishkov? That's for me, that's my biggest question mark here with this team. And it looks like you got one too here, Zach.
The biggest one for me is the goaltending. We thought we had it on lock with Carter Hart, and the Flyers have parted ways with Hart by now. And Samuel Ersson, don't get me wrong, he played okay. Like I was actually all right with how Sam Ersson did, because I wasn't really expecting much, but with what he had to work with, what are you going to do? Now, they also signed Ivan Fedotov, who is making $3.275 million a year as a backup goalie on a 2-year contract. Now, what that did, and the whole goalie situation is just straight fucked, because Danny Briere then pissed off Alexei Kolosov, who in my mind is our second best prospect in our entire system, and now he's trying to get out of his contract, and his KHL team is trying to help him do that. And that's after already Cutter Gauthier requested a contract or requested a trade and got it back in January. So don't forget about that. He was a top 5 prospect in our system, and we're going to talk about that later. But still, the goaltending is kind of screwed, and they got to figure something out. They have to. Yeah. They have to.
There's another prospect I really like in their system, Igor Zevragin, another goaltender prospect too. So I'd love to see him come back.
He's a lot
come
younger.
Over. Oh yeah, he's 19. So
the whole thing
we got
is
time.
Kolosov was ready to come over.
Yeah, and I thought he was already over here. So that's one thing. I don't know. I wonder if Danny was just like he didn't want to look a gift horse in the mouth after getting the Mishkov thing sorted. And I know. I don't know the politics behind it, but I guarantee you that there is politics there. That they're probably being very careful.
Still, man, come on.
Raj, what are your question marks about the best team in the league, the Philadelphia Flyers?
Well, my only question,
future Stanley Cup champion,
with the Flyers is always like, which Konechny do we get? That's my question always. I mean, he had a pretty kick-ass year last year, like 33 goals.
Underrated year too.
So yeah, I mean, I like him. I mean, the real question is, what is Sean Couturier?
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. There's so many question marks. Like, what is Couturier gonna be? What is any of these players gonna be? What is John Tortorella gonna do with these players? Like, it's just one big question mark.
Yeah, right now, I mean, Couturier, Konechny, Tyson Forrester as a potential top line according to Daily Faceoff. Like, that's maybe awesome, but also maybe not. Like, that's maybe a bad third line. Like, right?
Yeah.
Depending on who you get out of Couturier and Konechny, and Forrester is kind of just there.
And one reason why the guys at Daily Faceoff aren't the coaches of any team. We'll see what they actually wind up being these lines, but that's probably my best guess too.
It's fun to make lines, but you look at their roster and you're thinking to yourself, what the fuck are you spending your money on? What are they spending their money on?
Well, we're working our way out of Chuck Fletcher, giving 5.5 to fucking Ristolainen and shit. So yeah, it's brutal.
It's upsetting.
I don't mind the third line though right now, right?
Screw you.
Yeah.
Screw you, Raj.
As far as what
in your Vancouver. Ugh.
Yeah. How dare you have a good team?
I don't mind your third line. Fuck you, dude. You know what?
Well, really, like Scott Lawton was on the top line last year a bunch.
Yeah.
Right?
So was Joel Farabee. So was Bobby Brink.
Yeah. So it is like you say, like. There's a top 9 that has to develop into.
It's 3 third lines.
Yeah, it's 3 third lines.
It is.
What it is.
Yeah.
And so
Somebody's got to be on the top line. Somebody's got to score, I guess.
I don't know.
No. But yeah, off-season changes. They really didn't do a ton. Matvey Michkov, Cam Atkinson says goodbye. I guess Ivan Fedotov coming in. But this was a hard one to do. Like, even heart and soul behind the Flyers, like, I couldn't come up with top targets outside of like Konechny, Michkov, Tippett. Is that kind of where it ends here? You know, we tried to fill out 5 with Cam York / whoever quarterbacks the top power play of the worst power play in the league, and maybe the starting goalie.
You kept my number 5 in here, Sam Erson.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Like you'll get starts.
Having a really hard time. I told you.
I'm
having a really hard time with this.
I mean, it's
he'll get starts.
So for projected power play units, we went Konechny, Couturier, Tippett, Michkov, York / Sanheim / Drysdale, I guess. And then just for power play 2, I just wrote fuck because I have no idea. And is it even worth it to have the second power play of the worst power play in the league? So I don't know. This is a whole team of streamer candidates from the top to the bottom. One thing I did want to highlight is in some of the circles around here in Philly, whether it be on Twitter or Travis Konechny, Matvey Michkov, and Owen Tippett are going to be the 3 players worth drafting and probably holding. And I think Morgan Frost has gotten a ton of buzz about a potential top line role, and that's one thing. So just keep an eye out for it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's been rumored. I don't know if it's a bunch of people around here that really want to see it happen, but
hey,
it's what it is.
He's a chippy dude. Like he goes.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all.
Goes at it. Like
one question we had here about the Flyers is, can Owen Tippett get past 55 points? And I want to know what you guys think. Like that's a pretty good line for him. He's always been flirting with that number, and I'm curious what you guys think. 53 points last year, 28 were goals, 25 were assists. If he's sharing ice with Michkov, I think 2 more points is not going to be hard for him to come by. But what do you guys think? Huge shot volume from the kid. I don't know. I want to get your take.
I think it's possible. We talked about Owen Tippett before, like as being one of the only people that I think he probably had one of the best seasons on the Flyers last year, which is sad to say. But I think it's very feasible. I like him. He's not going to get you a ton of anything. Don't get me wrong, but he's throwing some hits out there, and he's going to score 20 plus goals for you as long as he plays the season.
What do you got, Raj? You like the tip?
Well, I mean, yeah, I do. Just the tip. Like he's like.
Are we going to get more than just the tip this year, though?
Yeah, tip it, dude.
If last year was just the tip, it was 289 shots, right? Like you can see that he was the most shots on the team. But like that's a huge question mark of your center's going to be Morgan Frost. That's not the most reliable thing. Michkov is maybe awesome. So like we were just already saying, like the whole team is just kind of like the swing is so wide. Unfortunately. It could be very exciting, but I'm like, as far as fantasy goes, I'm really, really, guys are going to have to drop pretty low before I'm going to want to take them.
Yeah. There is a certain like kind of ick factor here. And Nate brings up a good point here. The power play, like Tippett last year had 3 power play assists, 5 power play goals, 8 power play points for this guy. If they can fix the power play, 55, I'm smashing the over. So hopefully that's something they're looking at here in the offseason. I'd love for the power play to just even middle of the pack. I would die for.
I'd rather be second to last than last. Like I'm just fine with starting off there.
Yeah, because if we were second to last, we could always be like, at least we're not those guys. But instead, it's like Anaheim being, at least we're not the fucking Flyers.
I want to be able to point at someone. I don't
Our
want to be pointed at.
our breakout candidates, I got Mishkov. Maybe it's not a breakout because it's his first year, but I think we can expect a pretty good year. And I wonder if Tippett fits into that too. Like, you know, if the power play swings a certain way, Tippett, I think could really take off. I think he should be on the top line. I don't know if it should be Forrester.
I don't know if I count that as a breakout unless he
Who?
did something crazy.
Who, Mishkov or Tippett?
Tippett.
Oh, well, I mean, if he hits 65 and flirts with 70, I would call it a breakout. But even that, those slow burns, it's hard to call anything a breakout. Regression candidates, I agree with you 100%, Zach. Nobody did good enough to go down.
I don't know, man.
I put John Tortorella because I want him to get fired.
For Tippett,
I want that to be his regression. He regresses to not having a job.
Well, there's a lot here with Tippett that I like in terms of sustainability, like a really kind of stable shooting percentage, right around 10%. High shot volume, you can always count on that for per goal production. Shots per 60, where are we at? It did go up. So, with time on ice, hopefully any regression washes out.
We'll see. It's just a potential, right? Like for a potential.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, no one else can really probably do worse.
They're goalies. If you care at all, Sam Ersson and
If you're
Fedotov.
nasty like that.
Yeah, if you dig.
Nasty.
Ivan Fentanyl and Sam Ersson, these guys are probably going to be 50-50. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Because he's going to kill you, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we didn't get to talk about sleeper candidates.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Down.
Yeah, take it away.
Talk about Joel. Come on. I mean, we have sleeper candidates. It's one of the things that we.
It's like all we have.
Just because you didn't want to do it. So, in my opinion, Joel Farabee got 50 of the most under the radar points you've never heard about. And if he keeps getting, hey, 50 points.
Why
from
would
Joel
you hear
Farabee?
about 50
what's
points?
What's wrong with that?
Like,
what's wrong with that?
Hear?
If that's what you're expecting, what's wrong with Joel Farabee getting 50 points?
Hey, if he was in a Canuck sweater, Raj would be all over it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Come on.
Are you excited about 50 points? Like, there's a reason that's under the radar.
Games.
That was probably second on the team.
There's a reason no one's talking about it.
I don't care, dude. If you're getting 20 plus goals, you play all 82 games. You're worth a stream. Like there's a reason it's a sleeper, Raj. He could do better. If you get, another 50 something points or 60 points, yeah, I count that as a sleeper. A guy that you don't really expect to do anything. So yeah, I'm down. Fuck you. And I don't like your smug attitude while we're talking about my Flyers. I don't. Like, I'm allowed to say bad things, but you're not.
All right. They're top prospects. I mean, we're going to see one of them in Matvei Mishkov for sure. And then I don't know. I think he's going to be awesome. I'm right there with you with Oliver Bonk. I think Igor Zavragin is, worth waiting for, which is going to be really cool. And after that, I don't know how much we have in terms of really highfalutin fucking prospects here, like Jet Luchenko, our most recent. But the thing that I want to say about Luchenko, and just to start my career as a Luchenko apologist, he is one full year younger than Carter Yekemchuk. So maybe the guys in Philly just saw something that the guys for Yekemchuk just saw last year. I don't know. So he does have a little more runway than some of these guys. So there's a lot more room for him to fill out. Nathan Graham, before we move off.
The other goalie that you were saying that you like.
Igor Zavragin. He's 19.
Okay.
Kalasov is going to be good.
I thought maybe you were talking about Bjornsson.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they got a bunch of good goalie prospects, but I think Zavragin's probably the best. I'm probably butchering the hell out of that name. Nate Graham wants a projection for Mishkov. We're going to leave Raj out of this one because he's going to be like, whoa, fucking rookies. But yeah, I think we can probably count, like, I don't think he's got that carry a team by himself swagger that Connor Bedard does. But if
I have a number in my head, I want to do an over.
Yeah, I'm probably
first. I want to do the over on it this time.
I'm probably 56 points, right around there. 56 points.
I'll take the under. I'll take
Yeah.
the under that. Yeah. My number was 47.
47.
I think
All right. So I mean, yeah.
Sub 50. But I think he is going to be over 45. So
we're right in that, like, 45 to 55 kind of ish point range. Raj, you live with that? We're not blowing the doors down, sucking toes over here. We're just
Raj is putting his house
being
on
realistic.
For that. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
All right, New York Islanders, because we really want to keep the excitement up. 39, 27, and 16, but under Patrick Waugh, they were 20, 12, and 5. They were 15th in the league, 3rd in the Metro, goals for per game. We're just streaking here, guys. Another negative 17 goal differential, 2.99 goals for per game, 3.15 goals against. Power play was middle of the pack. It actually got worse under Patrick Waugh. Hopefully they fix that. Off nights, 24 near the bottom, back-to-backs 12. So again, a team that's just straight up not exciting for fantasy. They don't have a ton of off nights that's going to make you really get excited about them. The back-to-backs don't really bode well for, getting starts out of a backup goalie or getting discount starts or anything like that. Offense isn't really there. I don't know. Patrick Waugh, his first full season as coach, is he going to implement an offensive system?
I think they have a lot of depth, man. I think
they do, but is it exciting depth though?
No, they have a whole bunch of second lines, and I'd rather have a whole bunch of second lines than a whole bunch of third lines like we have.
All right, yeah,
but they do. They have offensive depth, and I don't hate the defense either. I think their defense is pretty dang okay, and then you have Ilya Sorokin on the back end.
Yeah,
I don't get me wrong. I don't like them just because I don't like the Oilers for some reason. I just can't help it.
Islanders,
something about them, can't help it. But like, I don't hate their team. Like they do. They have a lot of depth, and again, they have a lot of streamers and a couple guys that you're going to keep.
Yeah, and I think their ranking's decent.
Yeah, I mean, what's surprising is you look at this top 6.
Who's that guy?
They're
Tisplakov.
3 30 goal scorers, and they added Duclair, who was almost a 30 goal scorer. Barzal, who is just an assist factory, and I do not even know if that's a legal spelling of words there, but
I know. Never heard of this.
This is surprising.
Is it illegal
right?
to spell words wrong in Canada?
Yes.
They will put anybody except for Oliver Wahlstrom in the top 6. This is ridiculous.
But I mean,
Maxim Tisplakov.
When was the last time you thought there would be like 3 solid 30 goal scorers? Like that's just not a New York thing, right?
And they drafted Cole Eiserman this year, who is pure offense. The exact opposite of what you think when you think about the New York Islanders. Like the biggest question marks around Cole Eiserman. It was. We should have made that pick.
Really good pick.
Whatever. But Cole Eiserman's biggest downfall was his defensive play. And it's just such a strange out of left field pick for the New York Islanders. Like
that's our good defense is going to cover it up.
And I wonder if Patrick Waugh is gonna do something. He came in January 21st was his first game, and goal scoring went up by 3% under him, but the power play went down 23%. So a quarter of its efficacy went down. Fucking brutal. And hopefully that's something that they can fix. And maybe with a full off season, he can kind of implement his own system rather than like, oh, I don't want to change things on the fly, yada yada yada. We'll see. But I'm hoping, and will probably be hoping next year as well in the offseason, that the Islanders finally have an offensive system. One of the questions we got on Discord here from Wayne Granowski, he asks, What's going on with their defense? Sorokin, no, not that one. Tons of hype on Dobson. Here we go. But his points nearly halved since Raw came in. He's sat him 21 minutes per night instead of the 25. What are we thinking? Did he want to get a feel for some of the other defensemen on the team? Was he trying to mitigate some of the, kind of elongate his stamina, like make him more effective for less? I don't know. What was he doing?
Oh, I don't have an answer for that one. I do know that Noah Dobson is highly coveted. I would love to have him on my team.
For
he's
sure.
Really good. They did, yeah. And he is the 100% number one. Getting that first power play and everything like that. Now, really, the kind of questions start coming in on who's going to get the second power play. But I do like Noah Dobson. And I hope nothing changes. I hope he's just as fantastic next year under Wah as he was, season stats wise last year.
Well, the full season was good, but he was point per game under who was it? Fucking Lane Lambert. And then he had a 25 point in 34 games under Wah. So his point per game pace went down like fucking violently, almost like 35%.
If they go back to winning ways, he'll be just fine. That's the way I think of it.
And going back to what Raj was saying, adding another 30 goal scorer kind of incites a little bit of hope that they're going to try and be a little offensive, which is cool. His power play points went down pretty drastically. He was point per game, 45 points in 45 games before Wah came in with 17 power play points. And then his power play points just disappeared.
Yeah, but you've also got like no one else on the team. Like you got Romanov with 0, Pelech with 0, Mayfield with 0. The next guy is Pulak with 6. So he's definitely the power play guy no matter what.
Oh, yeah. There's no question about his deployment. It's just the production with that deployment. Where is it at with Roy next year or Wah next year? And is it 25 points in 34 games? Is it that 70-point guy like you were talking about the full season? Do the power play points come back?
But you also talked about, adding another 30-goal scorer. That's awesome. How does Noah Dobson get his points? It's not by scoring goals.
Assists, yeah. Hopefully. I hope you're right. They did Anthony Duclair, Mike Riley. They got rid of Cal Clutterbuck and Matt Martin. There's a little bit of dissonance in our top targets here. I rearranged these, Zach. So if you want to take us through yours first here, and then I'll lay mine down. I don't know if you remember. You had Dobson first. And then I have Barzal and then Sorokin. So I'll run you through. Yeah, so you're... No?
Okay.
Is this right?
Projected targets?
Yeah.
I actually had Matt Barzal first.
Okay.
I like Matt Barzal first. Jesus, I just had a lisp there. In all honesty, I could interchange Noah Dobson and Matt Barzal. But I do like Ilya Sorokin as the third. And then Brock Nelson fourth, Bo Horvat fifth.
Okay. All right. I think there's a lot of flexibility with this roster. How would you go about it, Raj?
I mean, to me, the Islanders, it really depends on your league-specific scoring because, like, Barzal is going to be assists, Dobson's really good in, like, blocks and stuff like that, too. So, if you need a good all-round guy in a categories league, Dobson is also great there. I mean, Horvat's going to probably get 30 goals again.
Face-offs.
Yeah,
jumps
so
up
yeah, in face-off
leagues,
he's way up there. And I mean, Sorokin is just fucking rad. So if goalies are a big deal, he moves way up the list. So it's like, I don't think they don't have anyone who's just a lock in any league, but they have a lot of guys who, if you have the right scoring, might be very good.
Yeah, you can kind of like curate which guy works best for your own league there, because they do have a little bit of everything. Like Brock Nelson is kind of a sneaky one. 30 goals last year, didn't he? Zach, I know you got a little bit
That's
on
why
Brock
have,
Nelson.
I do. I have him at number 4. I think he's just one of those guys that's just real sneaky that you don't think about. Like, Brock Nelson's been a sleeper pick his entire career, and he's had 30 goals in 3 of the last 3 seasons. 3 seasons in a row, he's been 30 plus goals. Like, that's what I'm saying. He's somebody that you don't think about, but he's out there scoring points all the time.
Yeah, really just useful kind of guy.
And nothing changes as far as his like stats go. He is just steady. He's just steady as steady goes. You know what I mean? As far as his shooting percentage, everything like that. Never even had below a 10-5. 10-5 is his lowest of his entire career. That's what we were kind of talking about earlier. You don't know who someone is until they keep on doing it.
There you go. And Brocktober is something that I've heard a lot. So people are big fans of him in October. Brock Nelson usually has a good start to the season. So somebody worth maybe selling high on. I don't know. I see as your sleeper here, probably for a lot of the same reasons. Goalie deep dive, man. I think we're all on the same page. It's Sorokin's net. One thing that I did want to say on Sorokin in terms of like, is he going to get better? I wonder if, you see a lot of these like numbers changes when Patrick Roy comes in, on the power play, maybe on goals allowed. And does Sorokin, was there just like a culture shock, right? Maybe an off season is going to help him. I don't know. He's one of those guys that for me is like solidly in tier 2-ish, 3-ish, but can always hop up. I just don't really see a season where he just shits the bed intensely. Like the pedigree is just there. So
I mean,
for me, he's a sneaky guy. Yeah, always a sneaky guy. Top prospects, we're all on the same page. It's Cole Yzerman. That was kind of it for me. I didn't really have a ton else, but yeah, you got a couple here, Zach.
So obviously Cole Yzerman, he's their number 1 prospect. Boom, like right out the gate. Like you said earlier, he is a true scorer. He's just an offense machine. I also do like Danny Nelson. He actually could get time this year. Like he could make the team this year. And he's like, you're more of a playmaking center kind of guy. Then I also have William Dufour on here. He's a right winger. But yeah, the only one that I think could get
Maxime
bumped up this year is Danny Nelson. Cole Yzerman in the next year or 2, I could see it.
And whoever that guy is at left wing too, Maxime fucking Tisplikov. Yeah, I don't know. Jesus. I kind of hope he doesn't play because I have enough trouble spelling Matt Grzelcyk's goddamn name. I don't want to like
Siplikov.
It's very selfish.
I'm going Siplikov.
That looks right. Yeah, you could be right.
I think it's Siplikov.
Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, the most exciting team we have to talk about in this episode here. 38, 33, and 11.
They got a lot going on.
Do they?
Sure.
Let's see. They were 19th in the league, 5th in the Metro, first positive goal differential of positive goal. I should have made a banner for this one. Oh my God. 3.09 goals for per game, 3.02 goals against. So just barely. Yeah,
but they're
just
above.
Barely positive goal differential.
But they were above.
Power play, third last in the league. That's not something that you typically hear hand in hand with Pittsburgh. You think of the Crosby era. You think of like Gensel back in the day, Malkin, Brian Rust, and like Chris Letang just tearing it up. And maybe teams are kind of numb to it. They figured it out. Do we get a rebound? I don't know. We're never going to get to like that back-to-back Stanley Cup rebound, but
no.
Yeah. All right. What's your take there, Zach? What's your question mark here?
The more I think about it, I wonder, they did make a decent amount of off-season moves. Like there are a lot of changes in
quantity.
Pittsburgh.
Quantity they did.
Yeah. I don't hate on, on and some of the guys are still somewhat new to, to the team. So I do kind of wonder what's going to happen with all of that. But I do, the top 6 is going to look a lot different. I do like their depth pieces, like I was saying. I don't hate Kevin Hayes. You got Lars Eller, Nola Shari, Anthony Bavillier. But yeah, I see you making that face. But they're.
I mean it too. Yeah, they are.
I bet
technically.
you do. They're NHLers. They're depth pieces. That's exactly what they are.
They are. I mean, Anthony Beauvillier, definitely one of the NHL players of all time. So I'll give you that.
For sure played.
Well, they're gonna have to figure out a way to, to replace Gensel, and that just ain't gonna happen. I'm not saying
Michael Bunting. He's up for the Calder this year, isn't he?
I bet he is. I'm pretty sure we have stuff about Michael Bunting in here. I like him.
Oh, we have to. He's like the only exciting, Crosby's a layup, Malkin's a layup. I have a little bit on Malkin, Letang, Carlson, kind of duality, whatever. But it's just fun to see Mike Sullivan getting a taste of what it means to be an actual NHL coach instead of being gifted 5 fucking superstars and everybody. Oh my God, Mike Sullivan, how does he do it? Like, you got fucking Crosby in his prime, Jake Gensel in his prime. Like, come on. Was it him the whole time? We'll see this year. Can't wait to see it. Off-season changes, like you're saying, they added Beauvillier, they added Grzelcyk, Sebastian Aho, the defenseman, Kevin Hayes. They got rid of Riley Smith. Jeff Carter retired. Pierre-Olivier Joseph. So top targets, I don't think it's going to surprise anybody. Sidney Crosby's probably going to be leading it off. Erik Karlsson, Chris Letang, Brian Rust, Evgeny Malkin, Tristan Jarry. How do you rank these guys, Raj?
Well, Crosby is just as solid can be. I mean, the one guy that slips in drafts these days is Malkin. I don't know what our league ADP is at the moment, but I mean, he got another
Malkin. He's the lowest of them all, 150.7.
Yeah, so like that's a guy that is a great pick. Like at 157,
absolutely.
And he's a year removed from being a point per player or a point per game. Sorry,
he is a point per player, and that's just what he's proven to be. And like he's never going to do bad. He's just never going to be bad. He's that's is what he is. Like, so I think he's probably your best bet as far as a safe, good, going to be above ADP. But I mean, the real question is the left wing. Like any one of those guys, I think Drew Connor, Bunting, Beauvillier, Blake Lizotte, any one of those guys could be the number one center. Because they're
the number one center.
So you got
Crosby,
Brian Rust. Brian Rust ADP of 141.3. Evgeny Malkin just 9 picks later, 150.7. Both of these guys, like, I'm not worried about 70-point seasons. I'm worried about 70 game played seasons. One thing I'll say is if you have IR plus, you're getting like 5th round, 6th round value for 60 games, and then you're getting a streamer spot for 22. So this is like a perfect range to be taking a Malkin, to be taking a Brian Rust, especially if actually might be only if you have IR plus spots. Otherwise, you're going down a bench spot because it's going to be hard to drop these guys and stay on top of it when they're coming back and get them back and all that kind of stuff. So with IR plus, like I said, 5th, 6th round value when they're playing, and they might surprise you because Malkin, I think, in the last 5 years has put together like 2 fully healthy seasons, which is kind of crazy. So, maybe in his old age, he's regenerating. I don't know.
Brian Rust here hasn't. He has one.
Malkin or Rust?
No, Rust. The one season that Brian Rust actually played like the whole season.
He was awesome.
Horrible. No, he didn't.
Was he really? God,
it was last year. He had 81 games and 46 points.
Oof.
Every other year, he's just under a point per game, and then the time that he plays 80 plus games, not almost a point per game. It was crazy.
So there's our bounce back guy.
28 goals last year.
Yeah, 28. Well, he did have a little bit of a bounce back. He was just under a point per game, 56 points in 62 games. But you wanted to see him get, play more games, just like you were talking about. But I think Brian Retz
Yeah.
has a ton of potential. Ton.
So let's get into the streamer targets, because I think there's going to be a bunch of them. You got I think Bunting kind of leads it for me, especially if he's going to be the guy on top power play. I think
he's not a streamer.
Yeah. So I think he's like end of your draft. The later you can get him, obviously, the better. Everybody loves an ADP value. If he's going to be playing on the top power play, this is a top power. I have so much more confidence in Pittsburgh's power play bouncing back than I do Phillies. So third for last in the league, I don't buy it. If Bunting's a part of it, I think that's huge. Carlson going to have himself, a year, 100 points in San Jose. You gotta figure it out, man. You got to do something.
It's funny that you just compared Philly's power play to Pittsburgh's power play.
I love it. I love
it. Definitely 4 Hall of Fame players on it.
I know. I'll tell you what. The other day, I had I was boarding a plane, or people were boarding the plane, and there was a Flyers fan had a Flyers jacket on. Right behind him, or maybe it was a Flyers hat, and then behind him was a Pittsburgh Penguins jersey. I was like, Jesus Christ! All right. So I started chirping the guys, being like, "Oh my God, what's next? Dallas Cowboys." Somebody got a fucking Dallas Cowboys jersey out there, and then the Pittsburgh Penguins was like, "Oh, we got cups, and I was like, "Yeah, and you're still in the basement with us, like you're hanging out with us now." How's it? I'm glad you guys had fun, but like, it's good to see you. I love that you're down here now. Yeah, and it'll be a long time for them. Good.
Who did you let board first? Did you let
the Flyers guy? Yeah, he was technically in line first, so everything happened the way it was supposed to.
You couldn't make that. That was above your pay grade. It's just whoever gets that first.
Sorry, sir. I don't feel comfortable with you flying on this.
Let the Konechny jersey board ahead.
Streamers, I think they're going to have a bunch of them. I don't know. I'm not sold on Kevin Hayes. I don't think there's a ton there. Zach, you love Rickard Rackle. So
I like Rickard Rackle here. I mean,
Take
this
him
is
away.
the perfect time to talk about Rickard Rackle. I mean, as far as the guys that you draft and as far as offensive players, you're looking at your Crosby, Malkin, Rust, and Bunting. Everybody else after that, in my opinion, is streamer territory. And there you go. Ricky Rax did not have a great season last year, and I'm hoping for a bounce back here. He had below 10% on his shooting percentage, still played a decent amount of games, but didn't produce. So with that being said, I think that there is more than enough chance that he will get really solidified into that top 6 role, because there's nobody behind him that I think is going to, I don't think Puustinen or Ashari are going to take that top 6 role away from him. So he's going to be there one way or another.
I like deep league. I don't mind Puustinen. I have him in a couple dynasties, and he's been pretty relatively productive considering everything.
I'm just
he's
saying,
not nobody.
But I don't think that he's going to take the second line right wing spot away from Ricky Rax.
No, he is not.
No, I don't think so either.
That's all I'm getting at. So
what's
that's why I like Rick Rackle in this situation.
You know where I think daily faceoffs out to lunch is Drew O'Connor as the left wing one.
That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be Bunting, Beauvillier down the top 6. That's my guess.
Yeah.
The only way that does happen is because, and the reason they might be doing something like that was because, let's be honest, the Penguins have put some weird people alongside Sidney Crosby. I don't know if it's been to kind of hey, to see if, Crosby can mask this person or turn them into something fantastic, because then we can trade them away, which they have done on multiple occasions. But at the same time, I think that left wing spot is going to be fluid. I think Bunting will be up there a lot, but the same thing that kind of happened with Brian Rust, I think is going to happen with Michael Bunting, where he changes a lot from the first and second line, because both players want him to be on their line. You know what I mean? Where they're
Yeah.
fighting over that player, and that's who Michael Bunting is. He's just a hard worker out there. So both Malkin and Crosby are going to want him. So he could go anywhere
And
at top 2.
T-Cat's got a good point here. This top 6 is definitely fallen from grace. It's like Crosby, I mean, even Malkin to a degree. There's like nobody left.
4 good players.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. Gensel not being there is a huge thing. But you went from having 5 good players to 4 good players. Like Rick Rackle is.
You went from having 3 great players to having 2.
Well,
that's true.
That's a bigger drop.
That is what it is. But I think Bunting is going to be fantastic this year. I do.
For your breakout, it's more of a bounce back. Brian Rust. I don't know. Is this just? Do you think his like shooting percentage bounces back? Is it the games played that bounces back? I know he played, 81 last year. You said so. What do you think?
I hope that it's the games that bounce back, because if the other stuff stays the same, if the so what happened last year? We were talking about, he played 81 games but only scored 46 points.
Oh, that was 2 years ago. Yeah. All right. I see last year.
For the first time in a long, long time, he wasn't double digits shooting percentage. If the games go back up and the shooting percentage stays the same, or gets even a little better, he's had years where he's been above 15%, but he's always right around that 13-14 area. I'm fine with that. That's great. But if you bounce that up a little bit more, that could turn into like what do I have here? 70. I'm looking at 70 to 75 points. I think he could break that 30 goal mark for the first time in his career this year, because they don't have the Gensel, So you're looking at someone else to make moves. I think Brian Rust can be that guy. I really, really do.
His time on ice bounced back in a big way last year. Shooting percentage bounced back in a big way last year. He was on a 74-point pace. It's just, as it is with Brian Rust, we need to continually say pace. So, very valuable guy. I don't know. Like, Brian Rust is going ahead of Evgeny Malkin in our mock ADPs. Raj, which would you rather have?
Oh man, I'm probably taking Malkin just because of ADP. I mean, Russ did get a full minute more ice time than Malkin last year, which is weird, but their numbers were pretty comparable, except Malkin had way more assists.
Yeah.
Probably due to power play points. So their numbers were actually pretty similar. Goals.
Well, Russ is going to be on that power play. I'm for dang sure.
Yeah, so I think in most leagues, I'm just going to trust Malkin more. I mean, the big downside is in certain leagues, straight up centers like Malkin could be an issue depending on your roster configuration or whatever. But I think, like, statistically, they're both probably going to do very similar numbers this year.
And what I'm noticing with Malkin here is the shots took a pretty hefty dip. Was it like 7 shots per 60 instead of 9-ish? Like, both in those neighborhoods. And that's kind of where his points went. So 74-point pace for Brian Rust, but 2 fully healthy seasons for Malkin in a row here. And 2 years ago, 240 shots. Last year, 199. So I think if those shots come back up, we can be looking at maybe 30 goals, but he hasn't done that in some time. And most of it because he just hasn't been healthy for it. So if he could put it, together a third fully healthy season, could be pretty good. I think I'm drafting Rust first because of what you said there, Raj. Like, strict center is tough. But if you're, ESPN league with forwards and defensemen, then I think there's more of a conversation to be had. What should we do? Move on to the goalies?
Hey, I got a question for you. What do you think happens next year when Crosby's in a UFA?
I think he wants to play a Penguin. Like, he just has that like old school kind of vibe to him. Like, I don't think he wants to get traded.
No.
For me, he's a Penguin for life. And
He's
I
won
think he thinks
cups.
that too.
He's done the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
What else does he have to
I
do?
just wonder
He-
how
I-
much longer he's going to play, or if last year is going to be it.
To be honest, and like out of left field, I feel like the Olympics has a huge thing about this. Like I think if they can win gold, maybe he'll consider hanging him up pretty soon. But I don't think like this next year is his last year. No part of me thinks that he's going to be signing 1-year deals into the sunset, and then if it ever gets embarrassing, then he'll just hang him up. It's not going to be a Tiger Woods.
I don't see embarrassing happening, but
No.
maybe.
Ever.
no,
I
he's
just
too
don't.
good, man.
Goalies, Tristan Jarry, Alex Nedeljkovic, 60-40 in terms of split starts. Zach, you wrote here that was their share last year. I think you're probably looking at the same thing again.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, one thing about Jarry, a lot of roast beef sandwiches, a lot of really bad starts. I think he had like 12. I mean, it was bad. It was up there, which is weird because there's this thing I'm working on for the website here, showing true goalie value, and Jarry only had like 2 or 3 really bad weeks. So I guess he was able to rebound in terms of certain back-to-back games. Like he had a really bad start and then probably had a really good one after it. But
hey,
he had fewer really bad weeks than Lindgren. Because I remember we were doing a little bit of 51 games played, 6 shutouts, whatever. So I don't know, 29-year-old Tristan Jarry, I could see him kind of going with the team. He's a 903 goalie last year, 909 before that, 919. He's kind of always in that league average, maybe a little bit better kind of thing. Raj, what's your take on this guy? He plays a lot. He plays okay. He plays for an okay team. Lost a little bit of his luster because the Penguins lost a little bit of their luster. Where are you at with Jarry?
He's so volatile, like 6 shutouts and barely a 900 save percentage.
12
That's
really bad
sketchy.
starts.
That's sketchy. That means you had a lot of games that really blew that, because 6 shutouts is incredible. That means a 0, like a 1,000 save percentage. So you you tried hard to ruin that. Like
60% quality start percentage too, which is like the most baffling thing. 12 out of his 48 games started, played 51, started 48. A quarter of your games were really bad starts, and you still had a 60% quality start. Yeah. It's wild. I don't know how to read this.
But at the same time,
so
his goal against average was still below 3. It was still below 3, and his save percentage was still above 9. I mean, it's easy to shit on the guy, and I get it. I don't like Tristan Jarry either, and we all know that. But, at the end of the day, the end of the year stats look pretty good.
Yeah,
except for the roast beef sandwiches.
And this is where it gets into it. Is TCAT reminds us that he completely lost the net to Nedeljkovic at the end of the year, which I think.
But also, do you trust Ned to keep that net either? Do you?
That's the thing. So I'm looking. His last shutout of the season was February 6th. So a lot of it was jam packed into that first half of the season. After that, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3 games below 800. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games below 900. And the end of the year, which I'm guessing probably started like March 7th, where he put up an 818, and then things started to get a little sparing. 739, 868, 800, 800, 857, like getting pulled a lot more often as the season wore on. I wonder if it's fatigue. I'd still imagine Jarry is going to be the 60-40 1A out of camp, but is this is it more of a tandem? Do you think this is starting to split? Do you think it goes back to Jarry? Like, does he bounce back over the off season?
I know that he lost the job to Ned and everything like that, but I do still think it's going to be a 60-40. Nedeljkovic was not great either as far as quality starts go and all that jazz and roast beef sandwiches and everything. Okay, so you said a quarter of the time Jarry had a really bad start. Yes? Well,
yeah.
30% of the time Nedeljkovic had a really bad start.
Damn, 10 roast beef sandwiches too. That's fucking brutal.
10.
They're both
10
bad.
roast beef sandwiches. They're both
It's like
really
who
bad.
was less bad?
And in fact, no, actually, it's almost close. It's probably above 40%. I can't do the mental math right now, but it's above 40% quality starts that he did. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
No.
That's one thing that
Nedeljkovic did not do good either. Is my whole thing. So
that's one thing that Jari
but
has.
I'm going to take the guy that has the track record, and to me, that's
if Ned were any better, then we could start worrying about like Jari losing the net for a full season. But I think when you have two bad goalies like this, it's whoever's least bad. And a lot of the time, especially at the end of last year, Jari was fucking brutal. And I wonder if it was just like fatigue.
Manager and assistant manager at the Arctics.
Eat your heart out, Mike Sullivan. You are seeing what it's like to own an actual NHL team.
Screw you,
That's
bud.
fun. Top prospects, Brandon Yeager. Did you have something there, Raj?
No, I was just gonna say, like, all of the things that we're saying basically just tells me I'm not gonna bother with Pittsburgh goalies.
Who are your
they're
top
like
prospects, Raj?
Serious value needs to be had.
Whoever's playing left wing on the top line,
best prospect available.
I
think Brandon Yeager's like really the only one worth writing home about. This is a club that doesn't shy away from. Well, I guess maybe not anymore. I don't know. Dubas. I don't like his moves either. So we'll see in terms of trading prospects.
I do agree with you on Brandon Yeager being their, definitely their number one. I also like Joel Blomqvist.
Good point.
Little part. He's their goalie of the future. So we're talking about all these goalies sucking dick all over the place. Jari and Nedeljkovic,
that's pretty harsh.
Well, Alex Needle Dick.
Sausage fest.
Got to do what you got to do. So Joel Blomqvist is going to be their goalie of the future. So they're just both kind of keeping the sweet seat warm for him as it is. And Owen Pickering is a legit prospect across the board. Nobody else agrees.
He's all right.
Yeah,
he's all right.
So he's a great defensive prospect just as it is. So yeah, those are my three. Yeah,
right on.
Blomqvist, Pickering.
All right, boys. We shaved off like 40 minutes from last episode. I think we're starting to hit our stride a little bit. If you guys have any other questions about any of these teams or the Metro in general, we're closing the book on them, but the book will be open in the Discord if you guys want to hop in or chirp us on Twitter. Do whatever you got to do if there's still questions laying around out there. But next episode we got for you guys is going to be the start of the Central. Can't remember exactly what teams. I know we're talking about Dallas. I think Winnipeg's in there. And then Chicago. And let me see if I can pull it up. No, that's Central Part 2. Anyway, we're going to start the Central Division next week. And I hope you guys are stoked on that. Let us know what you think. Spotify's got like a comment feature now on podcasts, which is actually pretty rad. So go ahead and comment on some shit. If you guys got questions or aren't in the Discord, don't do Discord, whatever it is. But I'll tell you, it's the most active free Discord out there, and you really ought to get in. Lots going on all the time. Plenty of fun to be had, and definitely give you a leg up on your league mates. So we'll see you in there, and until next time, we love you guys.
Love yous.
Love ya.
Oh man, you even got the outro music in here, Raj. Hell yeah, brother. I know my mic's not muted.
Your mic's on.
I missed the hot dogs one though. Gotta throw the hot dogs back in there. Hot dog, get your hot dog here.
That's still the best thing I've ever done.
Hot dog.
All right, good night.